Hi, welcome back to the channel where today we are going to be talking about communities. I know I haven't made a video in about 2 weeks and I appreciate all your guys' patience. I have been going through a few family things going on here, especially with the anniversary of my mom passing away. I took a little bit of a break. That is coming up very, very soon. And it was just a little bit rough around Mother's Day for me. So personally, I just took some time away from filming and just spent time with my family. But as I was spending time with my family, I felt like one of the biggest conversation pieces that we need to have is communities. When we're talking about communities as preppers, everyone has that ultimate goal of, yes, I want a community. And yes, that is amazing. But we have to discuss the pros and the cons. So one of the best pro parts about having a community is you have strength in numbers. You have strength in numbers. You have shared skills, medicine, security, agriculture, engineering. You have such a wide variety of skills that you'll find within your community and within your friends that you're bringing in or family members. Everyone has different skills and everybody brings something a little different to the table. Also, let's talk about security. When SHTF happens, if it's just you and you are solo, you're going to spend a lot of time posting security. So when you have more strength in numbers, you do have a chance to actually rely on somebody else and actually close your eyes for a moment. This comes back to the battle buddy system, especially with the military. One stays awake, one sleeps. You want to have that same idea when you're going into an SHTF situation, because when you are sleeping and you are trying to stay awake, also, you're going to start making really hasty decisions because you're tired, your mind is tired, and as your body starts to shut down a little bit, it will take a toll on you. So having a community is a pro when it comes to sleep and being able to stay ready, and when it comes down to the security aspects. Not everybody can cover every side of their property or their perimeter. There's a lot of space, and one person covering a perimeter is really hard. Now, if you have a family, you can kind of split that up. But if you have a community, you're able to guard that perimeter a lot easier than if you were a solo. Another positive of community is division of labor. We have discussed this throughout our channel over and over again. As you see behind me, I do can and produce and grow a lot of my own food, and the division of labor on the side of a community, the aspect of being able to share that workload is very important for people to understand. The positives on that is I can get through a lot of food and preserve a lot of food with more hands that I have. With less hands that I have, it's going to take a lot longer. So sometimes if it's just me canning, it might take me 4 days just to get through all the tomatoes that I've grown for the season. And that workload could be cut in half when having a community to rely on. Having roles in your community is very important. Roles such as hunters, growers, guards, teachers, medics. You can use this in so many different aspects. Not every person is going to understand how to do all these different skills. As preppers, we all are constantly trying to gain as many skills as possible because we know that we can't do it all. We can't do it all, and knowledge is one of the most important things when you're preparing for any kind of scenario and gathering as much knowledge as possible. But when you have a community, you're going to have people who have been doing some of those skills their entire life. Well, somebody else in the community might not. I've grown up growing and producing and preserving my own food forever. I know those kind of skills off the back of my hand. Same with hunting. Now, when it comes to like engineering or woodworking, I don't have those skills. Those are skills that I'm constantly working on, especially mechanical skills. I'm very quick to learn, but I still feel like there's so much more that I have to learn out there that it just doesn't come right at the cuff of my sleeve. Understanding having a community and emotional and mental support is very important, you guys. It is very important. Loneliness long-term is extremely dangerous. Everybody likes to have that ideal sense of I'm a lone wolf, I can do anything I want. A lot of people don't know the psychological side effects of being a lone wolf. It can have a wear and tear on your mental health. Communities offer a connection that you can't beat. But there also is a lot of negatives, and we're going to get into those negatives. I know some of you guys are like, but, I promise the negatives are going to come. But these are the positives. And when you're thinking about wanting a community, the pros and the cons of having a community in the prepper world, especially if SHTF was to happen, or end of times, or I don't know, martial law, all kinds of different scenarios that could happen. The loneliness of being alone, a lot of people are not prepared what it's like to be alone. A lot of people don't understand that that can take a big toll on somebody's mental health, where you've seen in other shows where a character is completely alone and their mental health starts to deteriorate very quickly. That happens actually a lot quicker in real life compared to Hollywood scenarios. Having a community and having people to be able to rely on reduces the risk of your mental health wearing down, where you're able to have somebody else that you can talk to. Let's talk about resilience. If one person is injured or dies, others can help continue those essential tasks. I'm reading off some of my notes here, but a lot of people don't understand is if somebody was to pass away, then you're taking on their workload. And not many people have thought about that. When SHTF happens, what if it's just comes down to you? So having a community, there is a bonus in it. Community structures can withstand individual losses, while smaller communities or just individual families are not going to be able to bounce back as fast with a significant loss in that family. Communities are able to thrive a little bit better and move on and help in the grieving process. I mean, for instance, I just lost my mom this year, and one of those things is I have a very tiny family, and losing her, I mean, there's not very many of us left. And that really resonated with me, where I thought, when it comes to a larger community, those losses are a lot less impactful, but at the same time, they're still going to impact that family. They're going to still impact their friends. But when it comes to a community structure, it's not going to completely break that structure down where it no longer exists. Let's talk about education and continuing our generations. It's easier to teach and raise children with a community support and knowledge, and a knowledge to share. So when we are teaching our children and we're wanting to have that impact on them as preppers. Like, I want my children to feel confident in being able to grow, preserve their own food, hunting. That is something that I constantly am giving to my children and want them to continue on. So when they have children and their children have children, that they can say, oh, my mom taught me this, my grandma taught me this. Continuing that education is very important. But when you have a community, they could be picking up stuff from other members of their community. They could be picking up on how to build things better, the mechanics of it. Those are things I cannot teach my children. Those things can be passed down, and that is important, especially when you're thinking about having a community and raising stronger individuals, including your children. You want them to be strong. You don't want to be raising children to become weak. And it also will ultimately help with the post-collapse rebuild. I mean, we got to get into these subjects that are a little bit more touchy and dicey. The subjects of rebuilding a community, not a lot of people understand that once something actually does happen, when we're talking a post-collapse civilization rebuild, you're going to want your children and your children's children to have these skills and this education to be able to grow and rebuild that on, because we can't predict when society would collapse. And a lot of the ways, especially with technology nowadays, would be lost. Not many people would know what to do without having Google at their instant fingertips. And it's so important that we realize that teaching our children is so important for us to continue to pass down that education, especially in a community. In a community, there's so many different skills and different aspects, especially like medical. I'm not very familiar in medical. I know a little bit, but not enough. But somebody who has a nursing degree or has worked in the medical field, the dental field, those people could be teaching the younger children just these general skills and spiking their interest, where if society did collapse, you would see a stronger generation come up. We always like to make the jokes. We talk about the boomers, we talk about Gen X, we talk about millennials, and then we talk about Gen Z, but it's always fun when we're all poking at each other's generations. But if society collapsed, it's so important that we create a generation that is going to be so much stronger and filled with knowledge and not completely reliant on technology, because once that technology is gone, our society truly could be broken. All right, we've talked a lot about the positives of having a community, and we're going to make another video on how to vet, how to go about deciding who is going to make it into your communities if you're choosing to develop a community, how you're going to kind of pick and waver of like who's strong, who's not, because we don't want people coming into a community. Just the beginning, the positives about having a community was based off of community members who all want to work together. We're not talking about the ones who come into the community and they bring nothing to a table. We're not talking about those individuals that have not paid in. I hate to say it that way. It's not like it's like a membership, but I'm not personally going to finance other people choosing not to prepare. And those people who are part of our community know that, and they have to prepare themselves, which makes it amazing that we have such a large family that all prepares. And then we have a large, really close-knit family friends that all also prepare. So nobody is a leech to each other. Nobody is sucking away the resources from others. So now we're going to get into the negative parts, because we have to get into those. We got to go through the positives. We got to go through the negatives, because we got to really look at what is happening and understand what the positives and the negatives. Maybe being a lone wolf or just being solo with your family might be for you to decide if that's going to be the best way that you want to go about it, or if you do want a community. There's a lot of waivers, and I always make the joke, our community is very small, but we're very, very close. But I don't know if I could ever go into a larger community setting and having different personalities starting to waver in and egos. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. I have all these ones written down, the cons, because sometimes I feel like I waver more towards the cons of having a community than the positives. But I do see having a community as a positive. Family is everything at the end of the day. So let's talk about it. One of the cons, group dynamics and conflicts, disagreement along leadership. That's the first one. Disagreement along leadership. Egos are a huge thing in Mother Nature, in the prepping community, not even Mother Nature, in the prepping community. It is a huge conflict when you have people having a power struggle. So you're going to have to find and decide what is going to be the best choice of leadership. And then you have also resources. If somebody joins your community and they don't have any resources to bring to the table, they are going to become a liability for you and your family and for your community. Rules and ideologies, those clash just now, like constantly in modern day society. Now put in an SHTF situation, it's going to get a lot more intense. Personality clashes. Not everybody's going to be your friend, and not everybody is going to get along. So you got to be really picky, especially in stressful times. You see more personalities, anger, anxiety, all those things during an emergency come out more full force than when things are calm. Security risks. A larger group draws more attention for raiders and desperate outsiders. That is just common knowledge in itself. Having a larger group, it's more noticeable. People are going to notice. People might start talking. It's harder to keep secrets. It's harder to keep location secrets and plans secure, especially the more people who know about these plans. Resource strains. Larger groups consume more food, water, energy. You're going to start straining your resources. Is it great to have extra hands to help out? Yes, but if crops fail, if something fails, there is going to be a strain on your resources, especially with water and food, energy, and especially ammunition, medical supplies, antibiotics. All of those things could be deeply strained from it. It's difficult to scale productions or storage without serious planning. That is one of the things that I love about the movie Homestead, when he has the chart on the wall. It's this giant chart where he's breaking down calories and the people. I am absolutely in love with that chart. I actually think about that chart all the time. And that takes some serious planning. I don't think I am perfect in any sense to have something like that for our community yet, but I am working on it, especially the math aspect of it. Disease, sanitation. The larger a group, the higher chances of disease, sanitation issues, waste disposal, clean water. Illnesses can spread very rapidly between groups. People do not understand that. As the more people you have, the more chances you're exposed to viral, bacterial. It's going to cause, you're going to need help, especially in the medical field part. Harder to stay mobile, relocating. If you have to bug out of your community, if the whole community has to bug out, being mobile with a big, large community is very hard compared to a small group. It's going to become very heavily based. And then you got ideology fractures. And this is very important. Communities may attract people with vastly different beliefs, religion, political, social. We see this in modern day society, and that can fracture unity, especially under pressure. So if you have SHTF hit and everything is just kind of overwhelming and you have all these different ideologies in there, that can separate a group very, very quickly. So we have to come down to the idea that having a preppers community, yes, there is all these amazing positives, but there is some negatives that can really deconstruct that community very quickly. So as always, I got the question for you. Are you going to choose to go with a community? Or are you going to choose to be more of a lone wolf or just a smaller community within your own family? Where do you feel that you are going to strive the most? And what do you think some more negative aspects of having a larger prepper community are? There is so many. The list goes on and on. I think I only covered about 7 of them, but that list just goes on. And it's just so important that we see both the negatives and the positives, and you really think about what's going to be best for you and your family, especially when you're prepping for a community of a post-collapse situation. And honestly, this is my final thought of the day. If you're going in to prepping and you really are wanting to go towards a community, you want your community established now, not past a collapse. Past a collapse, you don't know each other that well, and that trust is going to become very hard to build, and people are going to become very desperate, and they can become liars, manipulators. There's so many negative aspects of it. So if you're going to choose to want to have a community, I highly suggest that you look at it now. You look at it now, you kind of decide who is going to be a liability, who is not, and you start making those decisions before there is an actual collapse, or I'm just going to say it, a collapse. So as always, stay aware, stay prepared, and always have your head on a swivel. And let me know down in the comments below, are you looking to have a community? Are you looking to be more of a lone wolf? Or are you looking just to have your small family, and that's where you're going to stay with? Not all communities are positive. Not all lone wolves are a positive. There is so many different aspects of community when it comes to being a prepper. Let me know down in the comments down below, and I will catch you on the next one.